One morning you wake up and feel strange. You look around. This isn't my bed. What's happening? I must stop drinking so much. You get out of bed and look for your jeans. But you find only military clothes and a helmet with a spike. Strange, it's not carnival. You leave the room. Everyone bows deferentially as you pass. It seems you are an important figure. There is a mirror in a room. You go towards it. You look at yourself. That's why everyone bows. For some strange reason, you've become the German Kaiser. You see an officer. You discover you speak German and even understand it. You ask him where we are and what day it is. Of course I know where we are and what day it is, stupid, but I want to see if you know. He tells you that today is January 1st, 1917, and you are at the headquarters of the German Supreme Army in Bad Kreuznach, Rhineland. Sehr gut, Lieutenant. I will recommend you for a promotion. So, we are in the midst of the First World War. You're escorted to a table, and beautiful waitresses serve you a sumptuous breakfast. You're surrounded by staff ready to fulfill your every wish. Everyone treats you with respect for the first time in your life. It's really nice to be emperor, and this mustache is magnificent. But to continue being emperor, I have to win the First World War. How can I do that? Of course, you know nothing about the First World War. But, after breakfast, there's a briefing where you're updated on the situation at the front. In January 1917, the French front is in a bloody stalemate. Both sides face each other in trenches protected by barbed wire, machine guns, and artillery. The Battle of Verdun has just concluded in December 1916, with massive casualties on both sides. A retreat behind the Hindenburg Line, a sturdy series of fortifications built over the winter, is planned for February. Great idea, you tell them. The situation is more fluid in the east. We conquered several Russian territories. Russia is suffering severe military losses. The people are hungry, there are food shortages, and political instability. The Russian Tsar is Nicholas II, your cousin. Austria and Italy clash repeatedly along the Isonzo River, with minimal territorial changes. The Ottoman Empire is under pressure. British forces are advancing in Mesopotamia and Transjordan. Romania has been occupied. At sea, the British Royal Navy is blockading Germany, limiting the supply of strategic materials such as metal ores and, most importantly, food. The German population is on the verge of starvation. The United States is still officially neutral, but it is assisting the Allies economically and financially. So, this is the situation. Not so bad. I thought it was much worse. I think we have to take Stalingrad. They tell you there is no Stalingrad. You're right, I was getting confused with World War II. Okay, that's all for today. After the meeting, you realize that you know nothing about the Kaiser's private life. You meet that lieutenant again, who is now a captain, and ask him, "Who is my wife?" He replies that your wife's name is August Victoria Friedrich Lucy Theodora Jenny von Schleswig-Holstein Sonderburg Augustenburg, and that you have 7 children. Good, you guessed it. I'll put you forward for another promotion. You will be general. But first, get me a photo of my wife. Oh my God, is this my wife? I thought that since I was an emperor, I would have a top model as a wife. Anyway, for now we have other problems to solve, like a world war to win. You will soon discover that an emperor has little free time. January 9, 1917. You have a meeting at the German headquarters in Pleskastel with Chancellor Bethmann Hollweg and military leaders, including Hindenburg and Ludendorff, to discuss an important strategic decision: whether to resume unrestricted submarine warfare. Admiral von Holzendorf, chief of the Imperial Admiralty Staff, argues that a fast, ruthless submarine campaign will starve Britain into surrender within 6 months, outweighing the risk of bringing the United States into the war. The Chancellor Hollweg is one of those who oppose this policy. You have the last word. You remember that if you want to at least not lose the war, the first thing, and maybe only thing to do, is avoid involving the United States in the war. You say no, we will not resume unrestricted submarine warfare. Believe me, we will never be able to starve Britain. I can't tell you how I know it. The order is, avoid any kind of confrontation with American ships and stay away from American coasts. On the contrary, the U-boat program will be scaled back and resources will be diverted to the production of aircraft and tanks. Show me some tank projects. What is this monster? 36 tons, crew 25 people, 6 machine guns. It's bigger than my entire apartment. I want something lighter and more maneuverable. Are you serious? No. 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 Oh my God. No, no. I want something like this. Crew 3 or 4 people, maximum 10 tons, heavily protected. A 37mm gun is enough. We don't need to destroy a T-34. What is a T-34? It doesn't matter, it's not important. Mata Hari comes to mind. Do we have a spy named Mata Hari? Of course, Marguerite Zell, Agent H-21. Order her to leave Paris immediately and go to Germany. She's in danger. This way, you save her life, as on the morning of February 13, 1917, she would have been arrested in her room at the Hotel de l'Elysée and shot a few months later. Then, somewhere on the Western Front, there must be a corporal named Adolf Hitler. Take him out of the army and give him a well-paid job as a painter, writing in the contract that he must never engage in politics. On January 16, 1917, your wife sends you a telegram asking you to join her in Berlin, but you refuse. Sorry, I can't. I have to conquer Paris. Wait a minute, a telegram. Something comes to mind about a telegram sent to the Mexicans proposing to enter the war with Germany, then discovered by the Americans who got very angry. Is there someone on our staff named Zimmermann? Yes, there is Arthur Zimmermann, in the Foreign Office of the German Empire. Good. Forbid him to send telegrams for the rest of the life, not even to his mother. If he does, I swear I will personally cut off the hands. You're in luck, because on January 17th, he would have sent a delirious telegram to the Mexican ambassador offering him Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico in exchange for entering the war against the United States. At the beginning of February, the good news you have been waiting for arrives from Russia. The revolution begins. From St. Petersburg, unrest spreads throughout Russia. Tsar Nicholas II is deposed and arrested. The monarchy is over. Two powers emerge in the country. One is the provisional government supported by the Duma, the Russian parliament. The other is the Soviets, composed of workers and soldiers. This causes confusion and chaos, with frontline soldiers becoming increasingly demoralized and undisciplined. Well done, Russian people. Overthrow the tyrants. Long live communism. Hasta la victoria siempre. Lenin forever. They tell you, there's no Lenin. But where is Lenin? In Switzerland. But what is he doing in Switzerland? Send him to St. Petersburg by train. Yes, sealed. and give him a suitcase full of marks too. Actually, two. Let's not be stingy. The Bolshevik leader Lenin arrives in St. Petersburg in April and immediately begins to talk about a proletarian revolution and the establishment of a communist society, increasing confusion in the Russian nation. However, the provisional government continues the war, creating much discontent among the population and soldiers. On the 6th of April, more good news arrived. The United States does not enter the war, lacking the excuse of the naval blockade and there being no Zimmermann telegram. Gentlemen, I repeat, attack only French or British military vessels. Let's do like British intelligence, which had an entire section dedicated to discovering anything that could influence American public opinion. Offer them trade benefits and no tariffs on American goods. You could also ask Zimmermann to send a telegram, but not to Mexico, to Washington, promising them Canada. The 9th of April 1917, Western Front. The Allies launched the naval offensive, named after the French commander-in-chief, General Robert Nivelle. The British attack in the north, at Arras, using Canadians, Australians, New Zealanders and South Africans as cannon fodder. But the Hindenburg Line holds. The attack stops on the 16th of May. The French attack on the 16th of April, on the Chemin des Dames. The action is a disaster. Little ground is gained in the face of heavy losses. The naval offensive fails. The defeat, which came only a few months after Verdun, destroys the morale of the French army. In various battalions there are cases of mutiny and desertion. Nivelle is replaced by General Pétain, but without the United States entering the war, French morale remains very low. In this situation, Greece will not enter the war either. On the 1st of July 1917, in Russia, the Russian armies, led by General Brusilov, begin the so-called Kerensky offensive. But, after some initial success, the Russians suffer heavy losses. On the 18th of July, German and Austro-Hungarian troops counterattack, encountering little resistance. The Russian lines are definitively broken, and the Russian army collapses. Thanks to the disarray of Russian forces, it is possible to transfer troops to other scenarios. Italian front, the 24th of October 1917. At 2 o'clock, the Austro-German artillery begins to strike Italian positions. Immediately afterwards, the infantry breaks through the Italian lines in the Isonzo Valley, at Caporetto. The Italian army retreats to the Piave River. Things are going even better in Russia. Between the 7th and the 8th of November 1917, in St. Petersburg, the Red Guards occupy the Winter Palace and arrest the provisional government. The Republic is overthrown and replaced by the Soviet Republic, led by your friend Lenin. The first move of the new Bolshevik government is to start negotiations to withdraw Russia from the conflict. On the 22nd of December, in the fortress of Brest-Litovsk, peace negotiations begins. In your timeline, the Russians insisted for a quite unrealistic peace conditions, with no annexations or indemnities, and prolonged the negotiations, maybe hoping that the Western European proletariat would revolt. The Germans happily solved the problem, restarting the advance in March, occupying half European Russia, and imposing even worse conditions. Unluckily, we have no time. We must achieve peace quickly. Probably, part of Poland and Lithuania could be quickly obtained, along with some border adjustments in favor of Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire. Then, conditions similar to those of the Treaty of Bucharest signed with the Romanians. Leasing of Ukraine's mineral resources for a few years. All of Ukrainian surplus agricultural production has to be handed over to Austria and Germany. Some key points, such as the fortresses and ports of Odessa and Riga, must remain under German control until the end of the war. Last thing, I want the former Tsar Nicholas II and his family handed over to me, with the promise that they will never return to Russia. The Austrian delegate Chernin also wanted to conclude the negotiations quickly, as Austria urgently needed grain from the east, given that Vienna was on the brink of starvation. The German supreme commanders wanted much more. Hindenburg insists on further territorial gains. Dear Hindenburg, who is the emperor, me or you? This is my decision. And believe me, if we follow your suggestion, it won't end well. I can't explain why I know this. Thanks to this decision, in January 1918 Germany can redeploy 1 million men to the Western Front. Without the intervention of the United States, the Central Powers now has numerical superiority. You order to demobilize as many farmers as possible and make Austria do the same. By the end of January 1918, even if they demobilize 15 divisions, Germany has 190 divisions at its disposal, while the Allies, weakened by the enormous losses suffered in the quagmire of Passchendaele, has 172. Since there is no need to anticipate the arrival of US troops in force, there is no reason for a quick and massive offensive in the West, as in your timeline. Ludendorff, keep calm. You will remain on the defensive, even though we are stronger. The offensive you have in mind will fail. Again, I can't explain why I know this. Now is the time to propose peace to the Allies. Dear Allies, what do we want to do? Without a direct American intervention, you have no hope of a victory for many years. You might even lose, and in any case it will be a long bloodbath. Come on, let's make peace. We will withdraw from Serbia, Montenegro, Belgium and France. And Luxembourg. I always forget about it. No, dear French friends, we will not give you Alsace back. But we could give you some colonies, Togo, Cameroon, or both. Hindenburg, you again. What do you do with Togo? You don't even know where Togo is. There's nothing in Togo. Having Togo is more of a punishment than an advantage. The Austrians will leave the invaded Italian territories. After that, a referendum will be held in Trento, Trieste, and Gorizia, in which the inhabitants will decide where they want to belong, Italy or Austria. Charles I, Emperor of Austria, will protest, but we have to make concessions to have the peace. That little amount of grain from chaotic Russia does not solve all the problems. Our armies are strong, but the population is starving. We won't hold out forever. And USA, soon or later, will find the way to enter the war. Ottomans, you must give up Holy Lands and Iraq to the British. And, probably, Arabia is lost. Believe me, it could be much worse. To finish, we will abandon any attempt to challenge British supremacy at sea, which is impossible anyway. The peace proposal will be public. Not secret talks and hidden meetings, but public negotiations, also with leafleting on the trenches. So, from now on, soldiers will have less desire to go into battle and die, knowing that the Germans are already prepared to give them more or less what they are fighting for. The Allies will eventually accept. Maybe someone is sure of winning. They have enormous resources. However, peace talks on these bases have been taking place since 1915. The 28th of June 1918, Palace of Versailles. The peace treaty is signed. There are David Lloyd George, for the British, the Italian Prime Minister, Vittorio Orlando, the Ottoman Foreign Minister, Nassimi Bey, Chernin, for the Austro-Hungarians, Georges Clemenceau, for the French. And you, the German Kaiser. The war is over. Let's go home. In Germany, there is a gigantic military parade to celebrate this important day. You are a hero. Thanks to your leadership, Germany has avoided a defeat that many thought was certain. Your throne is safe. At night, you enter your rooms to rest. A wonderful life awaits you. You are an emperor, like Caesar, Charlemagne, Napoleon. You have many plans for the future. The first thing to do is a divorce. Then, a marriage to a new wife. An emperor has a lot to choose from. Maybe Mata Hari. She has always been my forbidden stream since I was 13 years old. Or one of the Tsar's daughters. Ultimately, they all owe you their lives. After that, a long cruise to the German colonies in the Pacific, Polynesia, and Samoa. You fall asleep happy. In the morning, you wake up and feel strange again. Where am I? This isn't the imperial bedroom. It's my old room. Where are my wonderful mustaches? Oh no. You're yourself again. What bad luck.
Wie schade.
But why do I speak German? I'm not German. There's a strange map on the wall. Go look at it. Oh my God.
Oh meine Gott.
By changing the past and ensuring that Germany did not lose the First World War, you also changed the future. And Germany conquered all the world. Your nation too. And that's why you speak German. I think I made a mess.